Narcissists, they don't just hurt you, they condition you to live in survival mode. And once you're in that state long enough, it starts to feel normal. And that's the most dangerous part because you stop questioning it and you start building your entire life around managing someone else instead of living your own. So in this video, I want to break down how narcissists keep you stuck in survival mode, what that actually looks like day to day, and why it's so hard to get out even when you know that this isn't right. Survival mode is not just stress or anxiety. It is a constant state of scanning, anticipating, adjusting, overthinking, and trying to prevent the next problem before it even happens. You're no longer living in the present moment here. You are living in reaction to what might happen based on what has already happened. And narcissistic relationships are the perfect environment to create that space. The first way they keep you in survival mode is through unpredictability. You never know which version of them that you're going to get. You might get the charming, loving, attentive version, and then out of nowhere you get the cold, dismissive, critical, cruel version. And there's no clear reason for the switch. Or if there is, it's something insignificant that shouldn't have caused that kind of reaction in the first place. So what happens is your nervous system it's trying to figure out the pattern, but there's no consistent pattern. And that's the trap here. You find yourself asking yourself if it's what you said or if it's how you said it. Maybe I should have waited or I should have asked differently. And now you're constantly monitoring yourself instead of just being yourself. That is survival mode. You aren't in a relaxed state or grounded like a normal person here. You're too busy calculating. The second way is through emotional inconsistency. One day they validate you, the next day they invalidate you. One day they're proud of you, the next day they're criticizing you for the same exact thing that they complimented you on the day before. One day you feel close to them, it actually feels like you're friends, and the next day you feel like a stranger. And this creates emotional whiplash. You never get to experience security long enough to feel safe. So what do? You try harder. You try to get back to that good version of them. And this is where codependency comes in because now your focus is completely on regulating them instead of yourself. They have you exactly where they want you. The third way is through subtle and not so subtle criticism. Narcissists, they don't always tear you down in obvious ways. Sometimes it's little comments, tones, looks, or backhanded compliments that make you question yourself. You feel uneasy and you start second guessing your decisions. For example, you really wanted to go to school and you had your heart set out on a specific course. But now the narcissist starts telling you things like, I don't know about that choice. The economy is tanking, so there probably isn't going to be any openings in that field. So now you're partially thinking that they might be right, but also partially feeling that you have to obey because they won't be pleased with you. Talk about losing your sense of self, huh? And when that happens, you stop trusting yourself. And when you don't trust yourself, you look outside of yourself for validation. And guess who controls that? They do. So now your sense of stability is dependent on their approval. And that keeps you in a constant state of trying to get it. Another way that they keep you in survival mode is through blame shifting. No matter what happens, it somehow comes back to you. If they're upset, it's because of something you did or didn't do. If there's conflict, it's your reaction that's the problem, not their behavior. And over time, you start accepting responsibility for things that were never yours to carry. So now you're not only managing your own emotions, you're managing theirs also. You're trying to keep the peace, you're trying to avoid conflict, prevent reactions, and fix problems that you didn't even create. And that is exhausting. And that exhaustion is part of survival mode. Let's talk about walking on eggshells here because this is a big one. You become hyper aware of their moods, their tone, their body language, even the way that they walk into a room. You can feel the shift before they even say anything. How many of you feel your heart dropping when they come home from work? They haven't even said anything yet and you're already shaking. And instead of asking yourself, what do I need right now? You're asking, what do I need to do right now to keep this from going sideways? That constant monitoring keeps your nervous system activated. You're always on alert and ready. And when your body is in that state long enough, it becomes your baseline. You're even stressing over asking them for anything. And it can be something as simple as the neighbors invited us for dinner on Saturday. So you go over and over in your head how you're going to ask them. It's ridiculous. Another piece of this is intermittent reinforcement. And this is huger than you realize here. Narcissists don't treat you badly all the time. If they did, it would be easier to leave, right? But they mix it in moments of kindness, attention, affection, and connection, just enough to keep you hooked. Cognitive dissonance. So now you're not just surviving, you're hoping. You're holding on to those moments. You replay them in your head. You think that if you just get it right, you can get back there. And that hope, it keeps you in the cycle. All we need to do is go to couples counseling and everything is going to be okay. They're finally going to get it. They're going to treat me better. Then there's emotional neglect. Sometimes it's not what they do, it's what they don't do. They don't show up emotionally when you need them. They don't support you. They don't even see you. You're spending your evenings alone after you've done their bidding. And when your emotional needs aren't met, you start minimizing them. You tell yourself it's not that big of a deal or you can handle it. You rationalize. They aren't emotionally available because they're just closed up. They like reading online. They're quiet. They aren't really doing anything wrong. Meanwhile, you're starved of human contact. I mean, what the heck are you in a relationship for if you're going to be alone all the time? That's another form of survival. You adapt and you lower your expectations. You're making do. And over time, you forget what it feels like to actually be loved. Now let's bring in the scapegoat dynamic because this ties in. If you were the scapegoat growing up, you were already conditioned to take on blame and to overdo to prove your worth and to keep the peace. So when you enter a narcissistic relationship, it feels familiar. Familiarity feels like safety to the nervous system, even when it isn't. And all of that keeps you locked in survival mode. Another thing narcissists do is create confusion. They contradict themselves, they change the narrative, and they deny things that happen. And they tell you things happened that didn't. And this creates more cognitive dissonance. They're big on cognitive dissonance. You end up questioning your memory or your perceptions. And when you can't trust your own mind, you become even more dependent on them for what's real. That's not just emotional manipulation here. That is psychological control. And it keeps you off balance, which keeps you in survival mode, which makes them happy, aka control. And control can look like guilt. It can look like obligation. It can look like subtle pressure or expectations. And when you don't meet those expectations, there are consequences. You'll see withdrawal. You'll see anger, criticism, and silence. So you learn to comply. You put your needs in the back burner and learn to prioritize them. But every time you do that, you move further away from yourself. Another part of this is fear. Not necessarily fear from physical harm, but fear of conflict, abandonment, rejection, or fear of losing the relationship. Fear of being alone. Fear is a powerful driver of survival mode. Fear is how religions and governments got us to comply. Fear is a massive weapon, and they know that. When fear is present, you don't think clearly, you react. You do what you need to do to reduce the discomfort in the moment, even if it costs you in the long run. Survival. Survival mode becomes an identity. You become the one who handles everything, keeping it all together. You're the strong one, even though no one's ever strong for you. The responsible one, the sacrificial lamb. And that identity, it gets reinforced over and over and over again. So even when you start to see the pattern, there's a part of you that doesn't want to let it go because who are you without it? Pretty surreal, huh? But this has happened to you. But regardless, there's hope because after a time, you get to the point where enough is enough. You'll get there, and that carries you to the other side. And that's where the real work begins because getting out of survival mode, it's not just about leaving the narcissist or changing the relationship. It's about changing the relationship with yourself. It's about learning to recognize when you're in that state. Awareness is key. So you want to notice when you're overthinking and overfunctioning and when you're overdoing. Start asking yourself, what do I actually feel? What do I need? And what do I actually want? I remember towards the end of this toxic relationship I was in, I was so exhausted from the constant merry-go-round. And I had also been working with the inner child at that time. So one night, again, he decided to have at it with me and tear me apart because I assumed something at work didn't go his way. And well, I was the target. And normally, if I would cry, it was out of anger, frustration, or desperation that I couldn't find a way out of my situation. But that night, it was different. I found myself on the floor of my bedroom crying for the little girl. It was a healing cry. All I kept saying as I wrapped my arms around myself was, it's not fair. You don't deserve this. It's not okay that he did this to you. I was literally talking to my inner child. That was such a healing moment for me. One of many that I was about to encounter. But asking questions like, what do you need, is pretty powerful. Sadly, though, for a lot of people, those questions are so foreign because they've spent so long focused on someone else. Another layer to this healing is rebuilding trust with yourself. That means listening to your instincts, honoring your boundaries, and following through on what you say you need. And of course, that doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. You have to learn how to tolerate discomfort without immediately trying to fix it because we're so used to immediately fixing things. You have to sit with the urge to overgive, to overexplain, and to overcompensate and choosing something different. It's work, but it's worth it. All it takes is some willingness. That's where you start moving out of survival mode and into authenticity. But like I said, it starts with awareness. You start seeing the patterns clearly because once you see it, you're not going to be able to unsee it. Once you stop living in reaction to someone else, you can start building a life that actually feels like yours. And that's the goal. I mean, imagine no longer living in a constant state of survival just to maintain a relationship. Because you deserve more than that. You deserve peace, stability, and you deserve to feel safe in your own home. And that doesn't come from managing someone else. It comes from coming back to yourself. I know right now you feel stuck, but it's not always going to be that way. Not if you want this madness to stop. Thoughts and intention are energy, and they're powerful energies. Once you set an intention that your life has to change and you really, really mean it, something will shift. It always starts with self. Change it on the inside and the external will also change. It's the inevitable. So thank you for watching today, and please do let me know if there's any topic that you'd like for me to discuss. Let me know in the comments below. And also, please subscribe and click that like button. And thank you. Take care, and we shall see you in the next video. Bye for now.